You know, for centuries, we've tried to get peace through treaties, diplomacy, and just, well, hoping for the best. But what if that's just the wrong way to go about it? Today, we're going to dive into a pretty radical blueprint. It's not about wishing for peace, it's about engineering it by completely flipping the economics of war on its head.
Okay, so let's jump right in with the huge question that this whole blueprint is built around. What if we could actually build a system where starting a war wasn't just a bad idea? What if it was financial suicide? A system where the math just proves that stability and cooperation make you way more money than chaos ever could.
And that leads us to this core idea: peace for profit, or PFP for short. The whole concept is to stop thinking of peace as this fragile thing that politicians talk about and start treating it like a product you can build, you can engineer, based on economic interdependence. The goal? To make stability the single best, highest yield investment on the planet.
So, a system this ambitious, how in the world do you even begin to build it? Well, we're going to walk through the blueprint, and you might be surprised to find out that it all kicks off with a really simple, really human solution to one of our oldest problems.
It all begins with food, the most basic human need there is. This system doesn't see hunger as some unavoidable tragedy. It sees it as a major design flaw in how our world works. And the entry point, the first step to fixing it, is something called the miracle bar.
And this is where it gets really powerful. They boiled this huge idea down to a simple equation. 1 bar equals 1 complete meal. And that act of feeding someone, once it's verified, creates 1 digital token. So in this system, food, the very act of providing sustenance, becomes a real, verifiable, bankable asset. And that simple bar is what gets this whole self-reinforcing cycle going, the peace flywheel. So, step 1, you make food to help people survive. And in doing so, you build what the system calls edible trust. Step 2, you tokenize that trust, giving it real economic value. Step 3, that value starts attracting serious capital to build even more infrastructure. And finally, step 4, that infrastructure makes the whole region more stable, making war a terrible business decision. And then the loop starts all over again, but bigger and stronger. It's a virtuous cycle designed to just keep growing. Okay, so we've got the flywheel. But what's the engine that actually makes it spin? Let's take a look at the 3 main components that really power this whole peace for profit framework.
The engine is basically a 3-part system. First, there's Stargate. That's the physical stuff, the shared infrastructure for survival. Second, you have the REIT, which is the financial skeleton that turns all that infrastructure into something you can invest in. And third, there's PCRMI, an AI-powered system that acts like the brain, or the central nervous system, for the whole operation.
The idea behind Stargate is so simple, but it's brilliant. Imagine these huge industrial campuses that provide things like energy, water, and food, but they do it across borders. They're shared resources. So if you decide to attack your neighbor, you're literally attacking your own power grid, your own water supply. It creates this powerful economic gravity that just pulls everyone toward working together, because not doing so means shooting yourself in the foot. And the scale they're talking about here is just mind-blowing. $30 trillion. That's the target size for peace as an investable asset. The REIT is designed to attract that long-term stable capital from giants like pension funds and insurance companies, the organizations that actually profit when things are stable for decades. Suddenly, the financial hit you take from losing peace becomes absolutely astronomical. And if the shared infrastructure is the carrot, this is the stick. The PCRMI platform is basically an automated economic referee. It's simple. If a region starts causing trouble, capital automatically pulls out, insurance costs go through the roof, and investment just freezes. But if you contribute to stability, capital floods in, risk goes down, and more infrastructure gets built. It keeps the peace with financial consequences, not with armies. Now, a machine this powerful obviously needs a soul. It needs some kind of ethical framework to make sure it's actually serving humanity. So let's look at the operating system that's supposed to guide every single decision it makes. The way it's framed is like a fundamental upgrade for our entire global OS. The goal is to replace what it calls the ego trap, which is basically our current system, built on taking things, on fear, and on scarcity, and install a new foundation, the Moses BIOS. This is an ethical firmware that's hard-coded with principles like abundance, compassion, and forgiveness. And this isn't just some nice-sounding philosophy. It's actually engineered into the system. There's an AI firewall that's constantly scanning for toxic intent. Ego-driven policies, extractive economics, that kind of thing.
If it finds something, the Moses BIOS kicks in, reroutes the decision, and uses what it calls forgiveness algorithms to strip out the harmful parts. The result? The output is always the one that leads to the most profit, which, in this system, is always the most peaceful one.
It's also really important to get that this isn't just some flash-in-the-pan tech idea. It's presented as this mission that's been going on for nearly a century, a legacy that's rooted in the real-life experience of one family. It starts with a grandfather's story of survival, which became the ethical heart of the system. Then his son translated that instinct into code, and now his grandson is leading the global rollout, with the goal of securing a future for all children.
Okay, so we've gone through the theory, the engine, the ethics, but is any of this stuff actually real? Let's bring this whole abstract system down to earth and look at the very first time it's been built in the real world. And here it is, the ARQ-18 Royal Oasis pilot project down in southern Portugal. This is the first real, tangible proof of concept. It's designed to be the spark that ignites the entire global flywheel. This is literally where the code meets the concrete.
And the engineering standards they're aiming for are just extreme. The goal for these off-grid habitats is what's called 5 nines reliability. That's 99.999% uptime for every essential system: energy, water, and food. It is designed from the ground up for total resilience and self-sufficiency. And look, this isn't sci-fi tech from 50 years in the future. It's being built with stuff you can buy right now. Skyacre fog ponics for total food sovereignty, atmospheric water generators pulling water right out of the air, Tesla Powerwall arrays for energy, and an AI called Genie that optimizes it all. It's a living demonstration that abundance isn't a fantasy, it's an engineering problem we can solve.
So, the proof of concept is up and running in Portugal. The last piece of this giant puzzle is the plan. How do you scale this from one pilot project into a global network? Well, the startup funding model is called the 1% of 1% strategy. The idea is to find a core group of just 20,000 early adopters. Each one contributes the equivalent of 500 units of the system's token, called Bitcoin, every month. You do the math, and that generates about $40 million a month. And that's the capital you need to kickstart the whole global expansion.
And this part is absolutely key for anyone thinking about getting involved. This isn't asking for a donation. It's being framed as a high-yield investment. When you participate, you're getting equity in a global abundance network, an asset that's designed to become more valuable as peace and stability grow.
And that brings us right back to the very heart of this whole thing. The entire system is built on completely redefining one simple word: profit. In this model, profit isn't about what you can take from the world. It's defined as infinite love and gratitude, the actual measurable well-being, trust, and stability of a civilization that's thriving.
So the blueprint is on the table, the technology is real, and the timeline is right now. It is an incredibly audacious plan to re-engineer our world from the ground up. And that really just leaves one final big question for us to think about. The blueprint is active. Will you be a part of it?